Hello and welcome back to Pints with PALs. It's your host Mike and your other host.
Jeremy, how's everyone doing tonight?
I never know if I'm supposed to like say your name in this. I'm a terrible podcast host.
I mean, I guess you could, but then we're leaving nothing to say.
Right? You were like, "Yep, that was me."
That is I.
So today we actually have for us it's kind of special, but for you guys, whenever you're watching this, it's not going to be aired at the same time or whatever. But it's actually the first day of spring signifies a local Michigan brewery's what they call Oberon Day. I don't know why I used air quotes. The listeners can't see that. I used air quotes for some stupid reason. But basically, it's the release of their seasonal beer. And instead of doing a beer of the month, or beer of the week, we're going to do this beer because it's when it came out. So this year it was on the 20th. Yeah, so it was Monday this year, the 20th, that it comes out. It's the first day of spring. I think, is the first day of spring always the same day or does it change? I don't remember.
I feel like it changes.
Yeah, it's like Easter. It's like 17 Sundays after the first Sunday once removed. I'm like, what?
Something like that, or 40 days.
Yeah. So, being Michigan natives, both of us, I still live here.
Yep.
We decided, well, I feel like you're going to see quite a bit of heavy Michigan beer being represented in this podcast, a little bit characteristically as far as like what is out there. But basically, because I am here and can get it easily, it's a little bit easier for me to get beer of different varieties and things like that than it is for Jeremy to get them. And then potentially we're going to end up just kind of having the beers of all different brands, especially like Sam Adams and stuff like that, because Sam Adams I think is going to be a kind of a default for a lot of the different beer styles because they have quite a bit of variety in them.
Yep, that's very true. Eventually, what I like to do is start getting some beers of my region and start shipping them up to you somehow. So that way you can have a taste of the Northeast Tennessee, the western side of North Carolina, maybe some parts of like South Carolina as well too. I think it'd be a nice hybrid of unique craft beers of this area.
Yeah, I've had a few. You've kind of packaged them into like some gift packs and stuff like that. Not when you just dropped them off when you're up here or whatever. Like we had the Gaelic Ale ones. Those were really good. I really liked that. So, yeah. So did you want to tell them like what it is? Well,
so what it is. So what we're drinking tonight, like Michael was saying, is the Oberon Ale. It's an American wheat ale. One thing I found that was pretty interesting about them, they came up with their own signature ale yeast, which you can actually purchase if you're a home brewer. I didn't know that until I did some research earlier this week. I thought that was pretty cool, but it's supposed to have like citrus notes, so like mainly orange. I don't want to compare it to a Blue Moon, but every time I say citrus notes, that's the first beer that pops in my head is Blue Moon. It has its own unique style flavors. I'm sure the hops makes it very unique. It comes in about.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so it comes in about 5.8% ABV, has a very low IBU, which if you don't know, IBU is International Bitter Units. It comes in at 25. It says it has a shelf life of 6 months. I think it could last probably a little bit longer, but I don't think I'd go much longer than 10 or 11. So I think it would just, the thing about the free floating wheat that's in there would probably just become a cake layer at the bottom and be kind of sludgy. Were you gonna ask now? Apologize.
I was going to say that we decided to do this as a separate beer too, because the wheat isn't my favorite variety, but I felt like this Oberon, and it's like all over the country now, but it's a pretty big deal for at least Michiganders. There's a big day that they have, like a giant festival out by Bell's factory in like Kalamazoo, where they go through and like have like a big party and stuff like that. So I think that that's kind of cool. And I didn't want to focus necessarily on wheat beers, and like you said, trying to compare it to a Blue Moon isn't necessarily fair. Like a Cold Snap, I guess, is like the other the Sam Adams variant of that more people have probably had, or people have probably had Blue Moon too, but those two are so unique. I feel like we could do a special on just each individual one because they have such a huge thing to them.
No, that'd be a blast. I think it'd be kind of fun to start comparing, contrasting like the more citrus American wheat and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the one thing I forgot, and I know you don't like it, but I would have gotten an orange to put in it because that's something that's
Oh, really?
stereotypically put in there. Like I'll put limes in my Mexican style lagers, and I'll put oranges in. Well, if I have these, I would typically put oranges in it. So I'm going to be experiencing this without an orange, which is kind of different than I've ever really had.
Right.
So it's kind of cool.
So the reason why I don't like oranges or any fruits, I guess, in my beers, it's like I worked at a restaurant and I know how clean people's hands are, and no, it just grosses me out. So like, I mean, I would probably like it if I did myself at home, but just at a bar, I don't like it.
Yeah, I won't ever put the fruit in it. Like I'll never dump it in there. I will just like try and squeeze it, and then it's like your hands.
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
how clean are my hands at that point? So I'm just like I'm grossed out by my own hands. But yeah.
All right, let's crack these things open. I'm thirsty.
Alrighty,
Let's
sounds
see if I can
good.
get a little snap in here. Oh, I don't know if I come through that.
I
Hopefully,
heard it a little bit on my end.
it'll.
I don't know if
It was
I don't
good.
think mine ever comes through on the thing in
See.
general unless I'm talking over it. I don't know how to use a thing yet.
Sure.
Yeah, oh there it
Oh, I
goes.
got that one. Yeah. So me and Mike are both representing Michigan-ish
I thought I
church.
was. I was like, oh, I got because you can see the shape of Michigan on there, and then I looked really closely, and it says Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm like, oh, you guys aren't not Michigan. Oh, I gotta pour it into a glass, I guess.
Oh, you don't
Oh,
have
it's a
to.
lot clearer than I was expecting it to be.
Yes, I don't remember being this clear.
I think I've
Been a
seen
while.
that because they don't. It's an unfiltered beer, isn't it? Don't they
Yeah,
unfilter
I
it?
think so. Let me go
So
back right now to see.
depending on in what, oh, it actually says the
Oh,
shelf life directly on the bottle. That's kind of neat.
so I forgot. You're supposed to actually switch these just a little bit, like the last like
Oh,
quarter inch.
there's
Because
absolutely nothing in the bottom of mine.
I
But
have I
that
have a lot of
is,
I have a lot of
but that's what I was gonna say is like this could be completely different. Like the one that he got, depending on where in the um the like bottling process it is, like depending on how the slurry goes down, is like how cloudy your beer is. One year it looked like orange juice. Like you can Jeremy's is way cloudier than mine.
well, my blur filter doesn't help either.
Yeah, because mine that if you put that in front of me, I would have never known that was Oberon. That's a weird flavor. And this is like the very first batch of them. They're gonna keep making it until I think the fall or something. I feel like it's really close. Like it's a spring summer beer. I don't know
Yeah.
if they say like when they actually stop serving it, but it'll change throughout the year. And if you get it on tap, it'll change throughout that keg because of where the sediment falls. So I do get a citrusy. It almost gives it an IPA-esque flavor a little bit for me. Not it's more like a grapefruit juice or like any kind of like citrus or
Okay.
briny flavor.
So I don't get as much citrus as I normally get though. Like not much on the nose for mine, anyways.
Yeah, it's so weird to
I don't
like think about having the same exact beer, but it'd be completely different. And it's like
Yeah.
not even like the difference of being canned or bottled. It's where they're both bottled, but just a weird
Yeah. So I
like
think
absolutely no head. It's almost kind of like flat. Mine is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
There's no.
yours has a little bit more head than mine, but it might just be the difference in the glass. Because like
Also.
all of our glasses are dishwashed, so like
Okay.
they potentially have like a residue of the dishwasher.
Mhm.
I'm getting we're getting our basement finished, but I'm gonna get one of those like push down cup things that'll like rinse off your cup. So I'm kind of excited to kind of have that down there.
So I
Yeah.
do think Oberon is kind of a big deal down here because like our local beer shop, for example, they always announce it whenever it comes into stock. So there's a pretty high demand in this region for this style of beer, the Oberon, anyways, for sure. when I went there yesterday to pick up some beer for this for the next few episodes, like they had probably 30 some odd 6-packs just sitting out, and then like a whole cooler stocked full of them. So they expect to sell a lot, I assume.
Oh, the whole cooler was stocked full of them. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one thing I've noticed with like libation stations. Like if something's really really hot, they definitely put it out front for everyone to get it. I think I went in. They used to do orders like you could call them up and like, hey, I want this, and they build it for you. But now only one guy runs it for the most part. I don't think they do that anymore. So I was thinking about doing that instead of me looking around for everything. This is all the beers I want. Just have them ready for me when I get there.
Yeah, I went back to Total Wine and More because I wanted to be able to buy a single, even though it was like $2 for one, or
Yeah.
$4 or $5 for six or something like that. It was like probably about 50% more to buy it individually. I'm not a huge fan of this beer, and my wife doesn't like it either, and she likes the wheat ales. So something about Oberon, I think it's the unfiltered, but like that to me is not unfiltered. That is
Right.
like, that is a very clear beer, but I've seen it completely. It looks like, it looks like a home brew if you were to like slurry the bottom and then dump it in, it's just like, boop, boop, boop. You're like, oof, it's like chewable.
Well, I mean, I guess you're like almost like a Heffy.
Right? Yeah. I think that's also one of her favorites as well.
I love Heffies. I can't wait to get that episode.
Yeah, the over wheat beers make me turn red, so you'll see me turning more and more red the more and more I drink of it in these episodes, or in this episode, or any of the.
So I can't say violet. You turn in violet.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I was digging through their website, and I was trying to find some interesting facts. And they have a great wall like about us basically, and they have all these really cool pictures, and they're like 1 to maybe 3 bullet points of like stuff they've achieved in certain years. So Mr. Larry Bell, the founder of Bell's, he had a homebrew shop, and I knew he had one, but I didn't realize he had it way back in the day. Like 1976 to 1985 is when this homebrew shop was open. He produced some other beers, and I think we'll talk about those later on because they still make these beers, and we'll probably get to them eventually. We'll try them then. But Oberon didn't come out until 1992. Then it was called Soul Sun.
That explains the label.
Yeah, and I'm not sure when they changed the name. I didn't really see that on there. Maybe it's a little further. Or maybe I had to click on something. I was just kind of just reading like interesting facts about them. And one other little fact I thought was pretty cool was in 1994, Michael Jackson showed up at the brewery, which I didn't know he drank, or maybe he didn't drink. He just happened to show up. I don't know. I'm kind of curious what that story's all about.
Yeah, they didn't go into any kind of detail or anything on that. It's kind of funny. They're just like, yeah, we got one famous person. So the one thing I did know, Bell's does a barrel day, like roll out the barrels or something like that. They call it something where they will just like randomly barrel age a whole bunch of crap and then just put it on tap and then not sell it, but like they'd sell tickets to it or whatever. And they have Oberon, which is a barrel aged version of this, which I actually do like, but it's because it kind of, all the sediment kind of settles out and then it just basically becomes boozy. But they had a bunch of other stuff like that too. And while I was there, we found out that the owner, he had a bout with like cancer twice, I think. And he just kind of gave up, and people are really pissed because he sold the company to New Belgium. And I'm like, that's the same ones that make Blue Moon, I think. Is that New Belgium?
I don't think so. New Belgium makes like Voodoo Ranger and stuff like that, like the Voodoo beers.
Yeah, I thought it was the other one, but yeah. So people are getting really mad, but like he was like, I get that you want this to be like a local brewery, but it's like, it's my life and I would rather just retire and move on. So he sold all the recipes and everything so that they can make it the same way. And that also might be because this was last year or the year before, so that might be why it's not quite the same. Yeah. Because it's not, depending on like whether or not their brew masters stay with the company. Because it's like, if you like a small company and you want to keep that small company feel, you're not going to stay with somebody that's like sold out to a major distributor. But who knows?
That's a really tough call too. I feel like, I mean, if somebody offers you like a crap ton of money, maybe you just take it and run with it. But like, yeah, so in Larry's position, I think, like you said, like potentially being ill again, because he never really said what was going on. I think there's just a lot of speculations. Because I remember watching the video, like the farewell video. But I do enjoy New Belgium. But there's a New Belgium in Asheville, North Carolina, which is not very far from me. Which I want to take you there when you come down. And there's also, I think, the other one's in Colorado, I think. So I know Asheville and Colorado are both really known for their water quality. So I don't know if they use different water if it's being made there. Heck, it still could be made in was it Kalamazoo? Yeah, Kalamazoo, Michigan. But water can definitely change a lot of flavors, though, for sure. I've noticed. So that being said,
Oh, Fat Tire. Yeah,
for
you're right.
example,
Fat Tire and Voodoo Ranger. Yeah, I was like, I felt
yeah,
like there's one major one that I like, because Voodoo
Fat Tire's
Ranger, I
really
don't.
good.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Voodoo Ranger you may not like it. They're all like IPAs for the most. There's one you may like. It's really. I use this word, but it's the best way to describe it. It's juicy, like orange juice.
Yeah, there's the Juicy Mace IPA, Juice Force IPA.
Oh, dude, that one's good. Juice Force, yeah, that one's strong. That was like, I think 10%, 8%. I can't remember what it is, 9%, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think that I'm excited to, and I think that the more we do this podcast, the more I'm looking forward to trying stuff that I don't normally want to try. Having some sort of like just kind of like way to kind of document and kind of follow or do all these kind of things and kind of see my journey anyway, like looking back at it, because I'll probably be, who am I kidding, the only one watching these videos anyway.
Right.
But
That's
I
what they
do
use on my board.
I do enjoy doing that, and I think that pushing my boundaries to try and get into like the IPAs and things of that nature. That's why, like, I'm guessing like we won't necessarily run out of content, but if we went through, like, the beer style list is enormous. We have probably, like, I don't know how many there were there. I tried to like look through it, but
A lot.
the difficulty is going to be trying to find them. And then the other side of that coin is, like, if we do IPAs, like, that's gonna have to be a month. Like, we're gonna have to do like a month long, like, shout out to IPAs, because I'm not gonna just buy one that I'm like, oh, I don't like it. because like, you have stuff like all day IPA, which, like, my dad was originally kind of pissed off at it, because he's like, if I'm gonna buy a beer, I want all of the alcohol that's in it. And then, like, later he's like, oh, well, this is kind of nice because I can drink like 4 or 5 of them at like a party and not be completely wasted. So there's a lot to that.
That's how I feel about the Michelob Ultras or whatever. There's a little bit of alcohol in there, really low calories. I can drink a crap ton. Yeah, so the list Mike's referring to, there's like 34 categories with roughly, obviously on just by skimming it, roughly 3 styles per category. So you're talking, what is that? 102 potential beers to try. Right?
Yeah, at least 90 if there's 30 times 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then that's the problem though, is like, if you put IPA in that category, there's going to be like juicy IPA or whatever, and then we had one in Cincinnati. We were at a church brewing. I don't know what it was. It was, again, an old church, I guess.
Taft's Brewery or something like that.
And it was a milk lactose. Yeah. I don't remember if it was milk or lactose. Milk. And it was considered an IPA, and I was just blown away by the complex flavors of it. And like, it was everything for him. He was just like, basically like, no, you have to try it. You have to try it. I'm like, I don't like him. But just try it. So I tried it, and then we went back like the next morning. Like, breakfast beers?
Breakfast beers. Yeah, dude, it's delicious. Yeah. I like, if they had a can, I'd take some home with me for sure. I don't remember if they did or didn't. There's a couple things that I wanted to cover before we forget. Oh yeah, so I just looked up Oberon, and I didn't know this. So Oberon is a king of the fairies in medieval and Renaissance literature. So I'm kind of curious if Larry was a big fan of the Ren festivals, because Michigan has a bunch, and they are huge, especially in the fall months. I mean, they're really big. Like, I used to go to them, like Holly, Michigan, which is what, half hour south of Flint, maybe 45 minutes north of Detroit, somewhere around there. Like, oh, I know that was one spot they used to have them, a big one. I think out west was not too far from Kalamazoo, I don't believe. I
I
do
mean,
believe.
Kalamazoo sounds like it would have a festival in it. Just the name alone
Yeah.
sounds Renaissance Festival esque. I've been to. I was at a lot of them growing up in the area, and I probably went every other year with like the Cub Scouts or the Boy Scouts or wherever they were, like those groups of people and stuff. But then I lived in Fenton, which was like really close to there too. So like I could basically just drive down Grange Hall Road, and it was like right there. So it was like that was easy.
That's fun.
But yeah,
Fun times.
yeah, I could see how that is, and it's like the style of beer, the like wheat style of beer is more of like a heavier but not heavy beer, if that makes any sense. Like it feels like it should be heavy, but it's not.
No, it's pretty crisp.
Yeah, I don't really smell a whole lot, and I don't know if that's because I'm okay. Because I don't know if that's my glass, because I need to get a bigger one like yours, because the only one I have of that size is it closes in. It doesn't have the open side, so it doesn't work as well, and it's a Founders specific one, so I kind of want to get a non-branded one. This one's from Perrin, which is one of my favorite breweries around here as well.
I don't I don't really have a favorite, but there's definitely ones I'd like to visit over and over again. Yeah, so
Well, if you just say one of your favorites, then it kind of
I know, defeats the purpose.
right.
So
That's what I'm like. That was a very
Burial's up there.
it's a very wishy-washy way for me to kind of do it. Like, it's one of my favorites. I have 7 favorites.
This is one of the 7.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, I would say Burial's definitely up there. Sorry, I tried to mute and I missed a button.
That's all right. Let it fly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is definitely really carbonated. It's still pretty active.
Yeah, mine.
I wonder if I should
mine
just let it sit.
is absolutely not.
Oh, yours not. Yeah, mine still got a nice head going on.
Yeah, like mine barely has anything in it.
I don't know why I keep putting it up closer to the camera. Like, here you go. Can you see that better now? I should probably hold it back further.
Yeah, everything's blurred. Yeah, for me, I have I have 2 different cameras on me right now. I have my cell phone, which is recording in the podcast thing, and then I have the one I'm talking to Jeremy on. So I keep trying to show it to both of them. Like, what?
Yeah, I'm not that high tech. I just have the one camera right there. So we usually try to end these episodes with like, what would Jeremy brew? And honestly, what I do, I would just buy their kit.
Is it from them?
It's from them. They supply all of it, except for they don't supply the yeast, but you can buy their signature yeast, like I said earlier, or you can just use US05, which was that's what I would use.
Does it go into detail with like their kit, like what they're using? Or
yeah, they have instructions for it. The one thing I didn't see on there was salts. I wanted to see if they use any types of brewing salts, because like I'm a big proponent of using either distilled water or RO water, which is reverse osmosis.
Yeah, their kit is only $35. Seems kind of cheap.
5 gallons.
Cheap for 5 gallons. Yeah, that's I think I would like to try like that. It's worth it. I think personally, if I were brewing, it's worth right. It's worth it. I spent more on just the beers for the next like 3 episodes. I could have 5 gallons of it.
Yeah, because I think Jay-Z even asked like me or Jason, our other host that's supposed to be on here. Sorry, I'll refrain from not calling him that. Jason.
He is not a rapper.
Like, he's not a rapper. He asked me about it once, and I was like, I would just buy their kit. I mean, it's already there for me. I wouldn't know. I'm not a professional brewer, so I wouldn't know what to change in it anyways. But why change something that already works?
And it's going to taste different depending on the water you use, obviously, and then the yeast. I feel like is going to be a big deal for whatever.
So it's $12 for their house yeast. So is that horrible?
Do you think their house yeast is going to be the liquid, or is it going to be in
It's liquid? It's not dry. So if you bought the liquid, you'd want to make sure that they shipped it to you, hopefully with an ice pack.
Inspiring your brew day since 1985. Can you imagine how terrible home brews were in 1985?
Oh, dude, I bet you they were just... I'm pretty sure they were lagers. I'm sure they were just ales. right? Because the lagers have to be under a certain temperature, so you just add whatever. So I think we got a few minutes left. So my dad told me a story that I think my great grandfather, he used to brew beer, and my dad stayed with him like during the summer or whatever, and he heard them, and like go. They're all bottle bombs. They just all started exploding. Big old mess when he woke up. I thought that was kind of cool though, because like I didn't know anybody in the family brewed beer. On the other side, I think my cousin Scott was the first one I knew, and I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. I did watch some of his. He didn't have videos, but he had a lot of Facebook posts. I was like, yeah, I think I could do this. So he kind of inspired me to get started with the cheapish, whatever, Northern Brewer kit. I still recommend them today. Not a sponsor, by the way.
Would you consider yourself a perfectionist?
Slowly.
Like, because you like to bake and stuff too, so like attention to detail is something that you are like, and cleaning, so like you have to like to basically pay attention and like follow a recipe as closely as possible, with temperatures, with amounts, with like the times that you have something in there, because like if you leave like a chocolate, or not chocolate, if you like you leave a smoky malt in there for too long, or you add it too early, it's going to change the flavor of your entire beer.
Okay, yeah.
And then like having to wait for it. So like if you're to brew something, like $35 seems like a pretty decent thing, and just throw in like whatever yeast you're going to use. But like there are, like if you're trying to make a recipe for something, they could be, because you have to get grains at a specific amount, like pound wise, because you can't necessarily store them, because you've like basically tried to because like they've already been crushed and stuff. So like then like, okay, well then how do I get a crusher? And then it's like you just kind of keep working backwards. It's like, okay, well now I'm just like, I bought 50 pounds of this like common grain that I use all the time and can freeze like 5 pounds at a time or whatever. I freeze them in 5 pound Ziploc or whatever you're gonna do, vacuum sealed bags.
That's kind of my plan, is to kind of get there at some point. I'm not in a hurry. I have a bad habit of like jumping really deep into hobbies. Like when I got back into painting, which I haven't done in a while, like I bought all sorts of stuff. So like I had all the colors. I had 20 canvases at any given time. Then I get into woodworking, and I would just tool after tool after tool after tool. So I told myself with brewing, I was going to drag my feet. And it's like one of the hardest things to do, because there's so many cool things out there. But I got to keep thinking of like, well, what's good for me?
Yeah, and that's where, like, I think for me, because I do the same thing. Like, I jump in like head first without any kind of plan, and then just come out the other side like overwhelmed and kind of pissed off with a lot of my hobbies. Some of them stick. 3D printing was something that I really enjoyed, because it's creative, I guess. Home brewing, I started to do the ciders and then kind of backed off. But I think that if I were to do it, I would need to do like the big automated thing, because I can't focus that long. AD&D. AD&D? No, ADD.
Yeah, right, bird. So I thought about getting an electric system too, and I'm still on the fence about it. But it's kind of fun to. It's frustrating too, but it's kind of fun. Like, oh, it went down 5 degrees. I need to turn the heat. How long do I keep the heat on? And I got to stir it a little bit, because temperature up here is different than the temperature here, which is definitely different here in the middle. So I got to stir and heat it, and oh crap, I went above it, so I keep the lid off. So I got to do this balancing act, which makes the time go by, right? Because like you can mash grains for 30 minutes to an hour, just depends on what you want to do. There's been a lot of studies on it. So don't come beat me up like you're supposed to do it for 60 minutes, or you only do it for a half hour. Like either or, it really doesn't matter.
And I feel like studies end up just like contradicting themselves. Like, oh shit, never mind, it didn't work. Like it didn't make a difference.
Oh, it really does. So sometimes like I'm gonna be making American light lager, and I'm only gonna do 30 minutes mash and a 30-minute boil and be done with it, because it's just a light beer. Like I don't really care that much. When I do the orange creamsicle, that one I probably go the hour, just because it's going to be a little more involved. There's more steps. There's dry hopping, stuff I've never done before, so it can be interesting. Can't wait to do that one.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that it's a good wrapping up point, as other people say.
Free beer.
Yeah. I think that I hope everybody had a great first day of spring, and if you haven't yet, I would recommend going out and trying an Oberon for the first time, or
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
like first time this year maybe.
First time this year. Yeah. Do both. Tap, bottle, try both. Until then, hope everyone has a great day, evening, afternoon, wherever you're at in the
Yep.
world.
Have some pints with your pals. Have a good one.
See ya.